Friday. This week I did it my way. I made lots of juice and now I feel a boost. Baby say, oh, it's the way I make my juice. Pressing fruits and roots. This week I did it my way. Baby say, oh, now let's have some fun. There is nothing greater than Fridays at Goodnature.
Ow, ow, ow! What's up, my juice lovers? Welcome to Good Nature. Oh, man, I messed it up. Welcome to Good Nature Radio. This is your host, Charlie Wetloff, joined by the two top juice business consultants and experts in the world. Chef Ari Sexner, author of The Juicing Companion. He literally wrote the book on how to create your own unique juice recipes. Olivia Esquivel, founder and operator of Southern Press Juicery, the award-winning juice, smoothie, and acai bowl shop. Goodnature Radio is the weekly Friday podcast where the juice industry comes to get help with starting and growing a juice business. Goodnature was founded in 1976 by my dad, Dale Wetloffer, when he invented the commercial cold-pressed juicer. What? Interested in learning about our complete turnkey consulting packages? Schedule a 30-minute call at goodnature.com/radio. And of course, you get $100 off any School of Juice online course using the code GNRadio at learn.goodnature.com. Join in on the juicing discussion on the Goodnature Facebook group. Just head over to Facebook and search for Goodnature Juicing. And shop in bulk for glass bottles and other supplies at Goodnature Marketplace at goodnature.com. And let's not forget, join the all-new Juicing Level Up mentorship group, which we started last week. Man, is that going great or what?
Yeah. This is an applause.
It's fire. It's
Yeah.
fire. It's
Yeah,
doing
it
amazing.
is fire.
Fire.
It was so much fun. We had 19 members for the first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, when we set it out, I'm like, if we don't get at least 3, we're not going to do it. And then we got up to 5, and then I was like, let's go for 10. And then it went 10, and then 11, and then 12, and then like 6 people joined the last day.
I remember I said, I was like 19 people. We're going to get 19.
Is that
No,
what
you
you
didn't.
said?
Did you?
That is
No,
not.
you did not.
Yeah, by the first episode.
Let's go
we
back
could
to the
get-
tape. We got to go back to the tape. and see
Because
what
every
it is.
time we've hit a number, he has said, that's the number I said.
It was not.
And I'm like,
email
what did you do?
or
You
text.
you counted 1 through 100 so that every number we hit, you would get credit for it.
I,
Well,
don't know, I
I'll-
thought I said 19.
You know, you could
Yeah,
have.
it's gonna share an image here, but it says somebody else is already sharing. That's weird.
Oh,
So
you don't have my
I've got
text
this.
for that.
Got this cool image of a map of where everybody joined in from. We had,
Oh, how amazing.
yeah, I'll edit it into the video here, but Celia made it, of course. There's
Of course.
people from 17 different U.S. states and 2 people from Canada. How cool is that? So
Yeah,
all
and
over
it
the
went
country, even
All the way
including Hawaii.
all the way from Canada to Hawaii. It was awesome.
Yeah, really cool. Just seeing everybody's faces, getting to know people a little bit. Some people have been juicing for a long time. Some people are just
Yeah.
getting started.
Yeah.
Got a whole range. So really cool. I'm really excited about it.
I like the
Anyone out there?
involvement.
Yeah,
The
lots of
involvement.
engagement.
I thought it was going to be kind of slow getting to know everyone, but kind of right off the bat, people jumping in and
People jumping in, asking
was great.
questions. Yeah, it's really cool. Really excited to see where it goes over the next couple of years, and how we can grow it and how we can what it morphs into. Depending
Yeah.
on what people want.
Yeah.
It's all about the members, so it's really about what they want. See how it goes, but yeah, I would say those groups. We present more in-depth educational material and even share some data we might not be comfortable sharing publicly, like on a podcast, but we feel more comfortable sharing with, like, in a private group. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in the next episode, Olivia, I know you're going to share some real sort of financial information.
Right.
Ari's going to go through an actual recipe spreadsheet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff that's real more suited for mentorship groups like that. So if anyone's thinking about joining, highly recommend it. $2.99 a month. It's definitely worth it. 1 hour of consulting is $300. So,
Yeah.
and you get 4 meetings a month. It's every Tuesday. You get an hour with Ari and Olivia. So definitely worth it. Go check it out. Go to goodnature.com. and it's in the resources tab. You'll see the mentorship group there.
Or you can just go
All right.
/level up too, right, Charlie?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Goodnature.com/level up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Forgot about that. I've also been putting the link in the show notes on these podcasts as well for people that like to click things instead of type things. So, all right. So today we are talking more about food costs, cost of goods sold, and profit. I know we talk about this a lot, but it's so
Yeah.
important. And the more we talk to people, the more we realize that it's one of the biggest missing aspects of a lot of juice bars is they just don't have a good handle on the numbers. So we're going to be talking about it some more. Now, this time we're going to start all the way at the beginning, why we even care about
Yeah.
some of these numbers and why they're important. So let's get right into it. So, Ari, why is food cost so important?
Yeah, I was going to say I don't care, but I do. I was gonna mess around with you guys, but no, food costs is so important. I mean, there's two kinds of costs for any operation. There's your fixed and your variable.
Mm-hmm.
Your variable changes every day. Your produce, depending on where you're at, what purveyors you have, it could change every day. It could change multiple times a day. It's important to stay on top of it, and I always kind of stress have a system in place that you could do this easily, quickly, because I always say if it goes over 5 minutes, it takes longer than 5 minutes to do your costing, you're probably not going to do it for long.
Mm-hmm.
And you should really be doing this once a week at least. It really gives you a good view of how much you're paying for your product per portion, if you're selling at the correct price, and if you need to make these adjustments, whether it's to price or produce. So it's important to have something in place to be able to keep track of that.
Yeah, Olivia, maybe you can just expand a little bit, like as a business owner, why variable versus fixed matter so much.
Yeah, and it's so funny because even just hearing chefs say that like we should be checking it once a week, I'm like, oh crap, I'm definitely not doing that. Like it's so easy to get caught up in the operation of like, hey, you're walking in, the phone's ringing, customers want to talk to you, you're 6 minutes deep, and it's just like, when's the time? Like when do you find the time to look at that stuff? But you really, really have to. And I was just saying as we were prepping for this episode, like, chef, I want you to look at mine again, like even though you've already done that, because it's always changing. And to answer your question, Charlie, like it's so important because at the end of the day, like one of the biggest questions that we're asked is, how can I make more money? How can I make more margin? It just feels like I'm doing more work, even as sales are going up, and I'm not seeing the payoff. And that can happen. I mean, it's just like running your own home. If you continue to have more and more expenses as more and more money comes in, and those things never change and they stay like this, then the margin's always going to be the same. It doesn't matter if you're having $1 million year or a $200,000 year. It's always going to stay the same. Like, but it shouldn't be more money, more problems, right? Like it should really be that as more sales come in, you're able to control the variable cost. And the only two things that we can control are labor cost, what we are spending, and food cost, really. I mean, I can't control how much rent it is. I can't control how many people walk through the door. I can try as much as I want. I can go on social media. I can do promos. I can do cleanses. I can do all these things. But the reality is, I know 100 people, 100 extra people are not walking through Southern Press Juicery doors today, unless like right now there's an event in town. But other than that, every single day, there's little that I can do to bring an extra 100 people through the door. So what can I do to bring a little bit more people in, or to capture my regulars that I know? Okay, I see 150 people every day. My average ticket price is, $15.97. What can I do to bump that up to a $18 ticket price, average ticket sale? What can I do to say, okay, crap, I'm running a 28% food cost. Let me talk to my vendors. Let me source. Let me shop. Let me tell them where I need to be. Can I bring that down to a 20% food cost? Because that's the only way you find more margin. And so that's where it really matters. That's, you should be basing your schedule, your labor schedule, off of your daily sales goals. it's really easy after you've been doing it for a while because you have historical data to look after. At the beginning, it's just a guess, just like anything else. Like they'll ask us, right, chef, like how much should I order? How much should I
Yeah.
produce? And we're like, dude, it's literally like a dart on the board. We have no idea. Like you don't want to underproduce, you don't want to overproduce. And when you're first starting out, you want to have extra hands. You want to be heavy in labor because you don't want to have a bad experience from a customer standpoint. But as you start to really like get going and have historical data that you can look at, hey, on this day last year, we did $1,000. Okay, I'm going to schedule for, instead of scheduling for $1,000, I'm going to schedule for an $800 day because I know that I'll probably have $1,000 day. But if I can make this happen with an $800 day of labor, then I've given myself more margin at the end of the day. I've put more money in the bucket at the end of the day. So kind of figuring out where are those thresholds? Can I give the same quality service on $1,000 day as I can as a $1,500 day with the same or less labor? Those are the things that really move the needle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The food and labor costs are the quickest
Mm.
you can adjust on the fly and most impactful to your bottom line for sure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember my first job was making pizzas at this pizza shop, and they would, they just have a bunch of part-time 16-year-old laborers, and if they're slow, they send somebody home, send a couple
Right.
people home. It's like they immediately cut it
Mhm.
off, just like, we're slow, go home. Or
Yeah.
actually, we don't need you today. They're just like really, really in tune with that.
Totally.
Yeah, and then back to variable versus fixed. Whether you sell one bottle of juice today or 1,000, your fixed costs today are going to be the same.
That's right.
Um, so the variable costs are really what's going to controlling those are either going to make you profitable or unprofitable. And yeah, I love what you said, Olivia, by setting up for you pick the threshold of like what's the
Mhm.
minimum we can run our business at? Let's set our level at
Mhm.
that. Because then everything over that $800 you do, all that margin goes to profit.
That's right.
That's the magic of it. You set
Yep.
the threshold for like we can run a business with these costs today. Then everything
Mhm.
over that cost is all the margin goes to profit. And that's really what you have to do. Now, I feel like a lot of our customers, they're kind of always trying to keep up with the orders
Mhm.
and maybe not sort of planning ahead to save labor. So it's like every order has labor tied to it.
Mhm.
And then that means the variable cost doesn't change because every order has the same amount of labor. So what are some tricks to maybe reduce labor costs but still hit that $1,000 day?
Okay, well, things that I see when I'm like FaceTiming with clients and I'm like, ooh, FaceTime me during service so I can watch what's happening. One thing that I'll notice right away is when associates don't have the recipes memorized. So
Mm,
they're like looking in a book, or for some reason I've noticed this too. Some people will individually they'll spend more labor. Let's say on a smoothie bar. Let's say they have a 6 smoothie menu, right? They will individually prep their recipes into Ziploc bags. That's all labor. Like, and they're like, oh, well, it saves because they'll just open the Ziploc bag and dump it in. And I'm like, but the time to blend is the time to blend, right? It takes 60 to 120 seconds to blend a smoothie if you depending on the consistency. So all of that pre-prep that they're doing seems like it's saving money when you're making that smoothie, but in reality, that's all pre-prep that they have to do. So to answer your question, it could be a million different things that they're doing wrong in their operation. Like sometimes I just need to lay eyes on it and be like, dude, I would have never thought to ask if you were doing that because in my mind, I'm like, why would you ever do that? Right. Because I was taught from somebody in the food and bev industry. And so many people have just jumped into this and they don't know what they don't know. And so without having somebody's eyes like Chef Ari looking at you and being like, oh, there's actually a quicker way to cut those strawberries. There's a faster way to weigh. There's a faster way to push that juice through. You just don't know. And so, one thing that you could do to help labor cost and help ticket times is make sure that they're memorizing things. Another thing is upselling, like it's instead of putting almond butter or peanut butter on every single bowl, leave that as an add on. So, if every
mm,
ticket that comes through and is a bowl and then you say, would you like almond butter with that? Well, I don't know. Should I get almond butter with that? Well, that's how everybody else gets it. That's definitely the way we recommend it. Boom, you got $1. Boom, you got
Nice.
$1. Boom, you got $1. And if I get 50 of those a day, that's 50. So, teaching your staff what the add-ons are, how to always push that. Like, why do you think McDonald's always says, like, do you want a biggie size that? Do you want a side of fries with that? Like, it's always an add-on. And so you're always looking to increase that average ticket price. But it's tricky because sometimes we do just need to lay eyes on it and be like, oh, that's what you're doing wrong. Like, I didn't even think to ask if you were doing that.
Yeah, for me, I've worked in operations where they've had times
Yeah.
where the economy was not good, and they're like, your FTEs, full-time equivalents, they got to be this number, they got to be lower number every week, and uh, essentially there's a lot of things you need to do to look at your whole operation, but the most important aspect, I think, is a challenging one.
Mm.
I talk about a lot when you become like in kitchen terms, where you become a cook to a chef
Mm-hmm.
or a sous chef manager position. You can't be doing the line level stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to back away from that. You have to teach people to fill in your gap. And the main reason for that is that you can have a bit more of an overview of the whole operation.
Yep.
If you're making the smoothies, making the juices every single day, you're not going to have any time to do your cost of goods. You're not going to have time to be able to look at your bottlenecks or issues to uh, like lower that labor. So that's definitely the biggest aspect, is being able to have time to look at what you could actually achieve. Another thing is like, have tasks that can be done with interruptions.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be downtimes or slower times, usually in the afternoon. Have tasks that could be done to fill in time, like label bottles,
Mm-hmm.
or kind of prep or fill in certain stations, or do backups for stuff. Meet with the team,
Mm-hmm.
meet with your team weekly and talk about what their bottleneck is. What is their biggest challenge? What's taking the longest? Is it weighing and washing the produce? Is it
Mm-hmm.
bottling the juice? Is it putting produce in bags for smoothies?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to the team. They're the ones that are your labor. See what kind of efficiencies you could help them out with. Those are some really big aspects to help you out with that.
That's such a good point. And excuse me, I noticed one thing this weekend that just sometimes I have a great relationship with my purveyors. I consider myself to be very lucky. Not everybody has one purveyors, which you should work to get on. Ideally, you don't want to be grocery shopping all the time. It just, like Chef says, it takes time out of your admin work. You're chasing prices, but I get it. You're trying to control that food cost, but one thing happened to me this past weekend that I think is just, I wish I paid more attention all the time. I had an associate write an order, okay, a Sunday order for a Monday delivery. One of the things that they ordered were our plastic bowl containers, okay? So the rep calls me. Normally I have the associates, just one of my key holders, write the order, send it in, and I don't really review it because I'll know by looking at it, why the heck is he ordering 100 pounds of beets? I know that's not right. We should be ordering 50 pounds of beets, right? And I know pretty much in my head what's right on par. Well, my rep called me and he's like, Olivia, I've got bad news. Do you have a moment to talk? Well, I normally don't have a moment to talk. Normally I'm like, what is it? And he'll be like, hey, we're out of these, you know, containers. Do you want me to just swap it for another one? And I'll say, yes, just put it in. Right. And I'll hang up and I'll go about my business. Well, I actually had a minute to talk. So I was like, yeah, Jamie, what's up? And he's like, man, problem. Your 16-ounce bowl containers are not available. It's on me. They're a special order. They're got your whatever. Um, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, oh man, Jamie, this is a problem because I sit on my inventory so tight. I do not have a lot of inventory. I don't want to be sitting on my cash. I order just in time when I need it. So if my truck wasn't coming tomorrow with those bowls, I was screwed. I had nothing to put my bowls in. And so he says, Well, I have another bowl that looks exactly the same. It's actually made from the same company. Okay. It's a little bit thicker, same dimensions. And I said, okay, what's the price? Because I'm thinking it's going to be more expensive than what I normally do, right? And he says, well, you're currently paying 21 cents a container. I said, okay. He said, these are 7 cents a container. I said, send it to me. I have no other choice. Sends it to me. They work even better than my containers. Okay. So they're a little bit thicker. They close better. They give me, like, they freeze a little bit better. They're not as, what's the word? Like, not cheapy feeling, but like they're just a thicker plastic, right? So
Flimsy.
flimsy, thank you. That was the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. So I call him and I'm like, Jamie, why haven't I ever looked at these containers before? And he, whatever. Well, it turns out, so now I'm not doing my normal containers anymore. I'm stickering them anyways, because during COVID, the manufacturer that was pre-printing all of our bowls for us stopped doing private label stickers. So we had private label, pre-labeled bowls. So we're stickering them anyways. So the labor is the same, whether I'm stickering a 21-cent bowl or a 7-cent bowl. But think about how many bowls I go through a day, how many bowls I go through a BOGO. So because I don't allow myself the admin time that I probably should have, I mean, that's something I should have caught years ago. I should have said, let's go item by item and look at our plastics. Let's look at our straws. That's why somebody said that the other day in the Facebook group. And I was like, dude, just because one person complained about a straw doesn't mean you have to change your whole straw order to something crazy. But those are the things that Chef is talking about, that you really have to set aside those times. And it's hard because you want to be like, well, if I do that, then I have to pay somebody to be on the blender instead of me. But it's like, look how much money I just saved just by having a conversation with my rep. So there's always room to improve. So asking them to pull your top 10 items that you're ordering and go out there and look for an alternative for me or shop around. I mean, it's probably not kosher, but I will send one rep a price of another rep, and I'll say, if you want the business, beat it. Here's what I'm paying. And it's on them to find it. So
Yeah. That's important. I used to work for a large company that had various kinds of hotels,
mhm,
like economy,
mhm,
luxury, medium, all that stuff. And we had the luxury of having buyers that would go ahead and we'd place the order. They would search a product and
Yeah.
purchase it. And they
Wow.
actually took the time to sit down and compare the same products from all the properties. And they found like just the prices were so way off from same product, same SKU, same
Yeah.
everything. And it was like a $2 per pound difference on a lot of items. So
Oof.
they kind of, when they
Crazy.
caught on, they pulled all the
Yeah.
lowest prices for sure. And they're like, this is what we're paying across the board. And it really cost them at the end, but it
Yeah,
helped.
buyers are so annoying to deal with. I had to deal with some buyers before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, their entire job is to negotiate, so they're just like relentless.
Yeah.
I think they probably get incentivized with how much money they save the company. So it's like
Mhm.
they don't make money unless you give them a lower price. So they're just
Yeah.
relentless, which is great to have on your team if you can afford it.
Yeah.
These buyers were nice. They just dealt with prices of celery.
Yeah.
Not like the big ticket items,
I don't
where it's
know.
kind
I
of
wouldn't want to deal with the celery,
I
Celery
know.
Association.
yeah.
All right. So quick review. What's target food cost for a juice bar?
20 to 30%.
20 to 30%. All right. So if you know you have $2, no, let's use a hard number. If you have $1.75 of cost in a juice, what's the minimum price you should sell it for?
$8.75 if you are running at 20%. So
Correct.
you
I was
take
just checking your math. That's correct.
I had my calculator on standby because I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't you just tell everybody how to calculate that?
Yeah. So you take the cost of produce it makes to produce that portion, then you divide it by 0.2 for 20% or 0.3 for 30%. I like to run both numbers so you have the range
The
in which you
range?
want to be between. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
what's typically frustrating on the back of the house standpoint is when you're costing recipes, you're getting a specific number. It's easy to do for a certain, like one recipe, 2 recipes, but a lot of times you're doing a full menu and you're
Mhm.
doing this for like 30, 40 recipes. And at the end of the day, you bring the numbers and then you look at, okay, what can we charge realistically for bottled juice in this demographic? If you're
Mhm.
in that percentage, you're good. If not, you need to start tweaking the recipes to get in between that range. And then another factor after that, so basically you're throwing a lot of the work out the window, but it's actually valuable. Then you look at your competition, what they're charging, and you want to make sure you're competitive with them. If not, go back, start readjusting the recipes again. So it's a little bit of a process, but setting yourself up initially really helps.
Yeah, for sure. And just to be clear, you don't have to charge whatever that number is. You can charge more, or if there's a particular item you tell yourself for some reason you're willing to go a higher food cost, maybe you're running a special or promotion or whatever,
Mhm.
that's fine as long as you have other items that are higher margin than that, right? So lower
Yep.
food costs. It's really, you want your entire operation to be 20 to 30%. Doesn't have to be every
Exactly.
single recipe. Um, but yeah, don't get caught in the loss leader thing unless it's really a loss leader.
Mhm.
You know, like McDonald's has a what, like the 99-cent cheeseburger. They're like, yeah, but then they buy fries and soda, which are super profitable.
Right.
Mhm.
But I feel like some people talk themselves into that when it's not actually the business model they're running.
Mhm.
Mm.
Like they're like, yeah, but this green juice is my loss leader. Like, they're only buying this when they come in.
Mhm.
So it's just a loss.
Yeah. It's just leading the loss.
Yeah. Um, all right. So we talked about food cost percent, setting prices. What are some good higher margin items that you might be able to mix in on the menu to bring that
Mhm.
overall margin up on your whole menu?
Are you talking about like raising your check average?
More like your food costs. Like what are some low food cost items
Yeah.
that you can add to
Mm.
your menu to bring the overall average down into where it needs to be?
I Something that I like is certain adaptogens,
Mhm.
or having an add-on adaptogen menu. Because a lot of times you're not just purchasing in bulk and you have kind of a good price on that and it's a small amount per bottle. So it kind of raises that check average, but also it factors in most cases, you don't have to worry about it expiring. So you don't have to worry about waste for that product. It's a great way to kind of raise that check average a little bit, uh, and boost sales in general. And it's usually typically a lower food cost item.
I know of a great brand. It's called Wild Crafted, I think.
What's that? What's that, Olivia?
Ari, that's
No, I know. That
Oh,
was a
okay.
chance.
I was like, edit this out, Charlie, right now. Yeah, actually, we talked about this in Level Up, and we got an order on Marketplace for
Oh, there you go.
Wildcrafted. So I was very excited. Yeah, but Wildcrafted is Southern Presbyterian's line of adaptogens, and that's a great point. That's something that we started doing with our latte menus. Was we started giving them an option for a free adaptogen in any latte, mostly because I was trying out the blends and I wanted to see if they worked and if people would come back for them. But it did work, and it's $1 upcharge on any other item, but you get it for free in your lattes. And then often what happens is they love so much how they feel on the adaptogens that they'll come in and buy a $35 jar of adaptogen, and the margin on that is just way better than juice. I can tell you that. So um, something like that is great. CMOS, the profit margin on CMOS tends to be really good. And then I would say, like, looking at seasonality things, like I am dying for watermelon season to come. I am praying for watermelon season right now
Mhm.
because I can get so much watermelon juice out of 5 or 6 watermelons, and we get them from a local farmer, Bradford watermelons, and they bring it to us whenever we need. And from 6 watermelons, I mean, I could probably get, gosh, I don't know, 200 juices more. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
just
a
crazy.
famous Bradford watermelon. They're
Yeah.
known
I
all
mean, they're
over. Real,
huge.
real, yeah,
Hmm.
They're huge, and they come straight
they're
from the
good.
farm. And you're just printing money on that thing. I mean, I used to do it for $6, a 16 ounce, and then that sort of thing, like, because the profit margin was great on it. And I wanted to offer something lower, but I was like, you know what? Why? Like, it's a nice juice. Nothing else in my cooler is $6 other than waters. I think I can bump this up to 8, and it did great. And I kept it at 8, and that's not something I do a lot. But I took a chance on it and wanted to see how it would react, and it did great. And what I really want to do this year, sorry, I'm going on a tangent, is I want to start doing some watermelon like smoothies, because I haven't done that before. Doesn't that sound so good?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, that sounds
Oh,
so
that reminds me
refreshing.
of like in Thailand, they just do the
Yeah.
watermelon shakes. They do watermelon and ice and some simple syrup to make it sweet.
Oh,
And it's
God,
like
that sounds
the most
amazing.
delicious thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good and so simple.
Yeah. Watermelon smoothies, I don't add anything except for watermelon, maybe a little citrus.
Yeah.
They're the best like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Really
Yeah. I think I'm going to bring that in, but
good. All right, so we can wrap it up. Anyone listening, come on over to Level Up this week. We're going to be talking about the same
Yes.
topic: food cost, profit, cost of goods sold. And we're going to have some real data to look at, some real financials. Olivia's going to tell you how she uses that information in her business.
Yep.
Rory's going to have real spreadsheets for calculating recipes and food costs, everything. So, thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
see you then.
I made lots
Bye.
of juice, and now I feel a boost. Baby say, oh, it's the way I make my juice. Pressing fruits and roots. This week I did it my way. Baby say, oh, now let's have some fun. There is nothing greater than Fridays at Goodnature.